Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Chef Chip in Action. Today we're going to be talking about steak. We'll be talking about how to season the steak after we've selected a steak and all the good stuff about it. Joe asked for something about steak, so here is what we're going to do. Talk about sweet potatoes, which are a great side dish for steak or just about anything, but this time of year, who doesn't like a sweet potato? So here we have some sweet potatoes or yams. There's a difference. It's very technical. Nobody wants to get into it. This is what you get at the Safeway or Giant. You're going to take your sweet potato and your knife. Just going to go ahead and slice the ends off of the potato. That's just going to help a little bit of moisture escape when you're baking them. Now you can do the potato in the oven, in the microwave. You can boil them, you can slice them after you boil them, you can slice them before you boil them, any bunch of ways that you want to do it. So we're just going to take the sweet potato, we're going to wrap it loosely in some foil and set it over there. The reason we're doing this is because the sweet potato, unlike a regular potato, has got a lot of sugar in it. And what's going to happen as it cooks, the sugar is going to melt and it's going to ooze, and it's going to be brown and caramel and delicious and smoky and wonderful, but we don't want that all over the oven. So, now that we've got all of our sweet potatoes wrapped up in the tin foil, and then take them over here. Preheat your oven to about 400 degrees. I'm just going to go ahead and throw these guys in there. They're going to take about 40 to 60 minutes depending on the size. You can go and check on them kind of whenever, poke them with a fork, see how they're doing. If you're doing them in a microwave, be sure to poke them with a fork beforehand in a number of places to let any kind of moisture or steam escape so you don't have an exploding potato and you just have a delicious potato. Alright, so here's some of the things that you want to know about steak. If you see here, I got these two ribeyes. You notice the marbling, all the distribution of fat throughout the meat. That's going to be really good and make sure that the meat's going to stay moist and tender. So when you're buying a steak, you need to be looking for that. You want that marbling, even distribution of the white, pink fat throughout the meat. As the meat cooks, it's going to toughen up, but the fat is going to help to keep it tender and moist. So that's what we're looking for there. So here we have the two things that we're going to put on this steak. One is good old salt. This happens to be salt from the Himalayan mountains. So it's a little pink. It tastes kind of nice. I like it. And this is everybody's favorite Montreal steak, McCormick stuff. It's essentially just more salt and pepper, and saves you from having to mix all that shit up yourself. So there you go. Alright, so, we just want to put a little bit of this on here. And the main purpose of the salt is it's going to draw the moisture out a little bit, and then when we cook it, it's going to allow it to go back into the meat. So that's why we put salt on there. You just want to kind of like pat it in, make sure it gets in there nice and good to impart the flavor. We're going to flip them over. Alright, so we're going to put salt on this side here, just a straight salt. This salt comes in a grinder. And if you're a little bit careful about your salt, you can kind of go easy on it. We're just trying to help for moisture management on the steak. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Chef Chip in Action. Today we're going to be talking about steak. We'll be talking about how to season the steak after we've selected a steak and all the good stuff about it. Joe asked for something about steak, so here is what we're going to do. Here we have our steaks, and they've been seasoned appropriately. That's already been taken care of. So there's two ways that we can do steak at home when it's not grilling season. It sucks when it's not grilling season, but it's what we got to do. One is with the Money George Foreman grill, which does a good job pretending to be a grill, and the other is to pan sear our steaks. Both are good methods, and we're going to cover both today. These are ribeyes. Ribeyes are pretty good. they're heavily sought after, and they're usually fairly expensive. But if you can find them on sale and they look pretty good, go for it. So when we're going to do the Foreman grill, really the most important thing is to just make sure you've got the temperature set right. I like to go with the old medium high. And once it's preheated, just go ahead and throw the steaks on there. Now, here's where it becomes a question of how done you want your steak. I don't like mine all that done. Other people like them more done. So we're going to let those go for just long enough, and then we'll check them. And I'm going to go over that. As for pan searing, it's a little bit different. Here we've got a pan. We were getting it hot. Now, with some kinds of food, you need to add a little bit of oil to make sure things don't stick and that they're going to get a nice even cook on the bottom. With this kind of steak, it's probably not that necessary. It's got enough fat in it and around it, so it should be fine. So we'll just throw that right on there. Obviously, we've been handling raw meat, so we got to wash up. All right. Let's talk about how to find out if your steak is done. The worst thing you can ever do is cut into it and look. Never cut into it and look. Here's a handy guide. When you're grilling, when you're doing it in the pan, when you're doing it on the Foreman, any of these will work. Take your hand. Feel right here. That is rare. That's what a rare steak will feel like. For people like me, that's perfect. Feel right here. It's medium rare. If your steak feels like that when you poke it, it's medium rare. Good to go. If you feel here, it's got a little more stiffness to it. That's going to be medium. And down here on the heel, it's going to be well done. That way you can just kind of poke your steak and you'll know what condition it's in. No cutting. That way you don't lose the juices. You keep all that nice flavor. Okay, so on the pan searing front, I flipped the steak, and now you can see what the searing does. If you look at this was the side that was the first side down, you see that it is cooked. And what that does is it basically makes like a vapor seal, and it's going to seal in the juice, seal in that moisture, seal in that flavor. You notice it's just got a little bit of charring on the edges. That's fine. That's where there's been a slight bit of caramelization and starting to render some of the fat that's in the meat, and that's really good. You don't really want to be flipping your steak a lot. You should probably only have to flip it maybe twice. And so the first time, go about 2-3 minutes, go ahead and flip it, and then the second time, after you've done it, the old poke test, then you know whether you need to keep it going or whether you're done. It's all up to you. Okay, so to go with our steak, we're going to have sweet potatoes. So they've just about finished in the oven. Let's go ahead and snatch them out. We should be able to just unfoil them here. Take a little slice to them. There you go. Nice. Look at that. Perfectly cooked. Just the way we like it. And the sweet potato is going to go great with a little bit of butter, cinnamon, and sugar. Or your preference. Some people like them sweeter. Some people like them more savory. It's all up to you. So something that we can do with our steaks tonight we're going to do to just add a little more kick to them is blue cheese. Blue cheese is great. You can buy it in these little pre-crumbled tins. You know, saves you time, saves you energy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these steaks that we've seared nicely in the oven-safe pan. In this case, a stainless steel pan, well seasoned. And just go ahead and put a little bit of these nice blue cheese crumbles right on top of the steaks. There we go. And we're going to take these, get one more flip on this guy here. Now this one, he actually came right off the Foreman grill. So you know, you can do kind of a hybrid here. I did that one on the Foreman, but I'm going to need this pan to do the searing. So go ahead and turn off your heat there, and get your crumbles positioned. And we're just going to take these and right under the broiler for just a couple minutes. It really doesn't take long. All we want to do is melt that cheese down a little bit. And a broiler is sort of like a backwards grill. It puts the heat from the top instead of from the bottom. So if you want to brown something or just melt some cheese on top of it, the broiler is a good way to go. Alright, we're going to take the steaks out from under the broiler here. Now doing that, your pans are going to get kind of hot, so you know, be aware of that. Protect yourself. That one maybe needs another pass underneath of there. See if you can get a good shot of that. Those two right there. You see how the cheese is nicely all melted evenly and a little bit browned on the top. That's great. That's just the kind of thing that we're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and plate this up. Got our steaks right here to go with the sweet potato. And we got a little bit of butter on the sweet potato, and we're just gonna go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon and sugar mixture. It's really tasty right there on the potato. And the sweet potato will probably go really well with the sort of more bold flavors of the steak. Now, there's been some question about condiments, specifically A1. I gotta tell you, I'm a fan of it. It's not going to offend me, probably not going to offend most cooks if you ask for a little A1 on your steak. Alternatively, Worcestershire sauce is really great. There's a number of steak sauces out there that are available. And when you get onto things like prime rib or even some of the little bit more tender but less flavorful cuts of meat, you can go with some horseradish, which is also really great. And they all have their different qualities, and we'll probably go over them all individually another time. So there you have it, pan seared steak ribeye with blue cheese melted on top.